So what is electricity? Electricity is the flow of free electrons through a conductor, which is usually a copper wire. So electrons are negatively charged and they flow from the negative terminal of the battery via conducting wires to the positive terminal of the battery. So whenever they ask you what electricity is, it is important for you to say it is the flow of free electrons. Okay. In some cases, you can say it is the flow of electrons. However, to be more precise, you should say it is the flow of free electrons. So in simple terms, whenever you connect a light bulb to a battery with copper wires, the light bulb will start to glow or it will turn on. This happens because there are electrons that are flowing through that light bulb. Since electrons are negatively charged, they will be attracted to the positive side, meaning that they will flow from the negative terminal of the battery to the positive terminal of the battery. The negative terminal of the battery is represented by a minus sign. So this minus sign shows that this side is negative. And the positive sign is represented by a plus sign. So this side will be positive. Electrons are going to be moving from the negative terminal. This means that electrons will move like this from this side. They will move through the wire. When they get to the bulb, they will enter the bulb, travel through the bulb and make it glow. Then come out on the other side of the bulb and continue to travel up until they reach the positive terminal of the battery. When they reach the positive terminal of the battery, they will enter the battery, and inside the battery, they will travel from the positive all the way up until they reach the negative terminal. When they reach the negative sign again, they will come out and then repeat the process. In our definition of electricity, we mentioned that it is the flow of free electrons. Now we need to understand what free electrons are as well as what a conductor is. And we mentioned that the conductor that we are using is copper wires. In the next step, we need to understand where these free electrons come from, as well as why do free electrons move when a battery is connected to a wire. In order for electrons to move, they need a force to act on them. This force is called the electromotive force, or EMF in short. It is produced by the battery. So when wires are connected to the battery, the EMF of the battery acts on free electrons of the copper atoms that make up the copper wire. These free electrons then start to move from one atom to the next, flowing in the direction from negative terminal to the positive terminal of the battery. So what are free electrons? In the previous example, we spoke about a conductor that is copper. Now, in previous grades, we were taught that copper is a good conductor of electricity because it allows electricity to move with ease through it. And copper is found on the periodic table as element number 29 with an atomic number of 29. The atomic number of copper means that copper has 29 electrons as well as 29 protons. We know that electrons are negatively charged and protons are positively charged. Okay. And another thing that we know is that protons don't move. So protons don't move, don't move, while electrons can move, can move. Here is a copper atom model. At the center here, we have what is called the nucleus of the copper atom. In the nucleus, that's where we find neutrons as well as protons. Neutrons are neutral, meaning that they do not have a charge. Protons are positively charged. And then on the outer side, we find what we call shells or orbits. The shells are these circles around, these circles. These are shells or orbits. On those orbits, we find what we call electrons. Electrons are negatively charged particles, so they are represented by a small letter E with a minus sign on top. This shows that this is an electron. On this diagram, we only represented them by a negative sign to show that they are negatively charged. A copper atom has 4 orbits, and on those 4 orbits, you will find 29 electrons scattered across them. However, what we are going to be most interested in is this last orbit. The outermost shell is called a valence orbit or the valence shell. The valence orbit of copper contains 1 electron. This electron is what we call a free electron because it is the only one. It does not interact with any other electron on its orbit. So in the outermost orbit of copper atoms, there is only 1 electron. This electron is free to just spin around and do whatever it likes. That's why we call it a free electron. So this free electron is the one that moves whenever a copper wire is connected to a battery. For this example, we connected a copper wire to a battery. This side is the positive side of the battery, and this side is the negative side. Let's name our copper atoms: copper atom number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, and 5. We know that the battery possesses what we call EMF before it is connected to a circuit. So the EMF is also called voltage. Voltage. When you connect both sides of the wire to the terminals of the battery, electricity will start to flow. When we say electricity is flowing, we mean that electrons are flowing through that wire. Okay, and they will flow from the negative side, from here, going towards the positive side. This is because electrons are negatively charged and they will be attracted to that positive side. So this portion that is represented by the 5 atoms of copper is also a copper wire. This is just zoomed in. Think of it as if we are using a microscope to look inside a copper wire to see what's actually happening as electricity is passing through that wire. So on copper atom number 1, the free electron, which is this one, that is represented in yellow, that small electron on the outermost shell, will jump to the next atom. So it will jump to copper atom number 2. Then the free electron in copper atom number 2 will jump to copper atom number 3. And the free electron in copper atom number 3 will jump to copper atom number 4. And this goes on and on. If we are to notice these arrows, the jump from copper atom number 1 all the way to copper atom number 5 is moving towards that side. And this side, we said it's going to be negative. This side we are negative, and this other side is positive. So this is why we say electricity is the movement of electrons from the negative terminal of the battery all the way to the positive side.